Great, thank you.
All right, is everybody ready? All right, so we will call this meeting to order at 5:30. I don't know, our scribe, you can catch the time. So doing roll call, I see that myself, Chris and Janet were all present, so I'm going to recognize that we have a quorum to proceed. So let's now move to item number 3, moment of silence. All right, now let's move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so next item is public comment for agenda items. Since I don't see any members of the public present, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item. So agenda item number 6, I'll make a motion to consider approving the minutes from the February 5th EAC meeting.
I get you to just step back one.
Sure.
Can you approve your agenda first, please?
Oh, yes, apologies. Item number 4, the agenda. Consider approving the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion was made by Chris.
Seconded.
Motion was seconded by Janet. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right. Thank you, Steve, for that. So we've already addressed item number 5, no public comments. We'll move on again to item number 6. So consider approving the minutes from the February 5th EAC meeting.
I so move.
All right, a motion was made by Janet.
I second.
The motion was seconded by Chris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes to approve the last meeting minutes. So moving on to item number 7, reports. So we have an update. We will not be reviewing the full 2025 annual report today. That will be submitted in March, but we'll discuss the complete report in detail during the April meeting. But I believe, Janet, you're going to still go through the bird town.
Yes, we're waiting on the review from Sheila and from Cindy. And so there's been some delay. But I did want to speak about the Bird Town. We have tonight our annual Bird Town spring meeting where they will announce the status of we have now 102 bird towns across the state. So we're really growing. And for us here in Newtown Square, we did maintain our gold certification. We're happy about that. And I just wanted to stress that our activities involved 368 volunteers. That's not 368 different people, but over the year, those were volunteers who came out. And they contributed 1,520 volunteer hours. And there were 1,439 participants who were not actually volunteering, but they were part of listening to. Through these activities, including tending native plant gardens, planting trees, tabling events, and co-hosting bird walks, we help to bring home the message that everyone can help our bird population as well as improve our local environment. And we look forward to highlighting Newtown Township as an important bird area as designated by Audubon with the installation of the signs in our park this spring. So what I wanted to know, Steve, this is what we printed out last year. And I know we have one framed in the hallway there. Do you think we want to paper the wall even more with another one for this year?
Is it dated?
This one is last year's. I haven't had one printed yet for this year.
Yeah, will it be dated?
Yes, it would be. It would be dated for 2025.
Yeah, so I mean, if nothing else, I would want to go ahead and put the 2025 one on top of the other one, or I mean, that would be the very least we would want to do.
I thought of that as an option.
Yeah.
So I'll have it printed.
Yeah, I don't know that we want to hang, I don't know, but
That's
maybe.
what you said, wallpaper.
One of the options too that, Bird Town might want to think about is like, you get the certificate and then maybe there's a year sticker that could be added to each certificate for the different years. And so,
Yeah.
so you wouldn't, like, it might just be an option. Because we've seen that with different other
Right.
things that we've gotten or done.
Right.
And that you would get the sticker and you would just add it
Yeah, great idea.
to do that.
Wonderful idea. All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
I feel like this is also a big accomplishment. Like maybe it's something we can consider, not necessarily just for the newsletter, but maybe getting the township to do a social media post about.
Sure.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
make that done because I'm happy to help.
In fact, if you do that, if you're going to do something for the newsletter, they usually do the social media post
Mhm.
as well.
Okay.
But that would be great. And if we could do a social media post now before the newsletter's released,
Mhm.
that would even be
Right. I mean,
something that would
as
encourage people,
simple
maybe when
as-
they got the newsletter to do that.
As the icon and then
Mhm.
what I perhaps just shared.
Or if
would
you
it
want,
need
I
to be
can
longer than that?
put it into my software with the imaging and I can make it like a little award
All right, well,
logo.
I'll send it on to you.
Okay. When it comes to social media, anything, I'm always happy to mock them up. It doesn't take much time at
Okay.
all.
All right, great.
That is awesome. Are there more items you want to
Oh,
cover?
Now,
Okay.
I just wanted to add also that for 2026, we are going to start partnering, Birdtown will, with Bird City Network. And that is different states as well as some different countries as well, Mexico, Brazil, who are partnering together. And so we'll have a little different way of reporting our activities for next year. And so that's why there'll be a change. So there'll be just 4 activities: creating and protecting habitat, addressing threats to birds, educating and engaging people, and promoting sustainability. And there obviously are many activities under each of them.
That was the Bird City Network.
Yes, under Bird City Network. Yes, thank you. And that's my report.
Awesome. Thank you, Janet. So we will then, you can make a note in this, well, we will bring back the annual 2025 report discussion to the next meeting. All right, so moving on to agenda number eight, new business. So first topic, 8.1, discussion and possible action on 2026 sustainability conference timing. So I have an update I can give here. I think we mentioned this last time, but Garrett Williamson is still very interested in hosting this event with us. They provided me with a list of 3 dates, September 25th, October 2nd, and October 9th, that would all be feasible for them and where they have the event venue space open. I did check in with Mary Wells about, timing with the township, and it sounds like, these are all potential options. I would personally recommend, I think of these dates, I would recommend Friday, September 25th, in part because there are a lot of other October events happening within the township and also at Garrett Williamson. And keeping in mind EAC voluntary availability, it would be nice to have a little bit of separation and space between these. I'd like us to definitely be active and do tabling at a lot of the October events. And I believe Parks and Recs may also be hosting a weekend event early in October, at least it's under discussion. So my recommendation would be for us to move forward with reserving that date of the 25th, but open that for discussion or any comments or thoughts from anyone.
Well,
Fridays.
I'll be back in school by that time.
Yes, we will.
Well,
Thanks.
maybe not me, but.
I will be back in school and we have a long summer, so that's greatly needed.
Right.
I would say, I think that's great. So I would say, let's move it, carry forward. Actually, I'll make a motion that we recommend adopting September 25th as the date for the mini conference. All right, Chris seconds. Janet thirds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So we will go ahead and do that. I did actually preemptively ask Sandra from Garrett Williamson to just kind of pencil that in. So that's great. So that morning is going to be preserved. We don't have an exact time at this point. I think I have done some, independent thinking on what we want to cover, and Sheila is also going to connect with me as well to share some thoughts on what they've done in the past. But when I think about how we're going to approach this, I think, it makes the most sense. We have coming up on the 13th, the Delaware County Sustainability Conference on March 13th. So for those of us who are able to attend, let's go ahead and attend that. And then I would love for us to get some form of working meeting organized following that event, either in late March or early April, where we could include the township, Mary Wells, Garrett Williamson, and some folks from the Newtown Square Business Association. Because I think I really want to understand what we might be able to cover and potentially share in that meeting that's going to be meaningful and actionable for the different types of commercial businesses we have in Newtown Square. And so I think that the conference is a great starting point, but I want to make sure we get everyone together before we formalize how long it's going to be or what we're going to cover and get people to weigh in on that.
So for clarification,
Mhm.
I know we call it here the Sustainability Conference. I think it's also called the Green Business Coalition. Is it not?
Well, I think the conference is just an event, right? That's good.
Yeah,
That's a
I
good
think
call
it's,
out.
I think we focus on the Green Business Coalition,
Yes,
what they're doing.
yes.
And
The
we,
attendees are-
those are the main attendees.
Yes, right.
Yes.
And I think that's all also something we can discuss, in the past, it sounds like it may have been primarily attendees, but I know it's also a goal of the EAC to open this up, to open up the Green Business Coalition to a wider audience. So, maybe we don't necessarily need to limit attendees to members. Maybe it's an opportunity to bring in and advertise to more businesses who might be interested in joining the coalition as a way for them to think about practices, even if they haven't submitted the pledge.
Right. Good point.
Mhm.
Well, and I think you have a great opportunity this year if you want to tie it into the American 250. To also, I mean, we have an opportunity to talk about our history, as well as in our sustainability, how we have some really, I think, unique things in the town that have used different resources that were like, part of the building that's the timber building that was built, the timber office building, used timber as part of their construction. And so there's some things that we could do to talk about, like some things that are being done sustainability wise that also take the history of where we are as well. So I think there's some multiple options that you could put together in it that would make it broader than just those who are current members.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm very much at this point view a very open slate. That's why I'd love to get everyone together once we have this foundation of understanding what's happening at the county level for sustainability and also understanding from the business perspective, we want them to come, we want them to get value from it, we want them to enjoy it, and we want them to take action from it. So I think understanding, what topics are most aligned. We have commercial businesses that are tenants and they don't have control over the building. And you've also got, potentially landowners or property owners, and we have a mix of businesses that may have no landscape and those that might actually have a great deal of landscape, just looking at who's currently a member of the coalition. And so figuring out, do we have an opportunity to speak to all of those at once, maybe saying, here's how you can action this topic differently in your environments, or is there maybe some common thread and we want to actually focus on this particular audience? I don't really have any preconceived notions, but I do want to make sure that we are covering stuff that people will find useful and actionable for their scenario.
So I'm really hopeful that when we go to the Sustainable Conference on the 13th from the county, that we will have ideas to bring back about being more sustainable that we could then work on in a township level.
I know, I totally agree. And I would also, and this is an area where I need to learn more to understand what's actually happening in the township right now and have a chance to talk with some businesses in advance about what are you doing right now that's not just sustainable, but also potentially improving your operations or saving you money. So maybe also look at ways that instead of just having it be more of a lecture format, I know you guys have done this in the past, bring in some business to talk about what they're actually putting into action.
Yes, yes, good.
There's one other, I think actually this might be a question that I sent your way, Steve, through Maura, but I'm not sure if it got to you. There is one company, for example, I know that does commercial composting that will come and give educational talks, but because it's a single private business, maybe not even in this meeting today, but I'd love to get your thoughts on, is that something that might be appropriate or would it be viewed too much as promoting individual business?
So here's what I would say is if the talk is about composting and what can be done, they can come in and have that you can do it as that. If they're coming in and they're saying, and they start selling
Right.
their business as the business, then we get a little bit, that becomes more of an issue.
Right, yeah.
And so, because we don't want to support a single business. We want to be very careful that we realize that there's lots of different options out there, and we don't want to, we're pretty careful about how we do that. So that would be the piece that I would say we just have to look at.
Right.
And so we had this very issue with something, I think it was 2 years ago. You remember, Janet, I'm trying to remember, there was somebody who wanted to come forward and do a presentation.
It was
And
on
it was-
Shade Grown Coffee.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, and we had to kind of, as long as they talked about it broadly,
Right.
we were okay. But if they were talking about just what they were doing and was more of a sales pitch, then we said that we can't do that.
Right.
Now, just to understand the full context, let's say let's say we bring in a local Newtown Square business
Yep.
or township business, and they want to talk about what they're doing and their operations. Can they still then reference, for example, individual vendors that they're using? Because I think it's kind of a
Like,
difficult.
what do you, like we're using X, Y, and Z to do our composting.
Yes, or we're using X, Y, and Z to come and swap out our cooking oil.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's a comment in passing versus
Mhm.
saying this is the company that does this the best, because I don't, then I think we get into trouble, right? Because now we're soliciting for a particular company, but if they just happen to mention, they use this company, but really their focus needs to be more on what they're doing
Mhm.
than who they're using, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And if somebody afterwards asks, who are you using, and they choose to say so, I don't have a problem with that. We just have a real thing about, as the township, anything that we do, that it appears that we're putting a business ahead of another business.
Understood, yeah.
Because we just don't want to do that.
Mhm.
And we don't recommend, like, some people come to me all the time, would you recommend a plumber? We will not recommend a plumber, and one of the reasons, or a trash company, we get, I could go down the list of what we get asked for. But one of the reasons we don't is, one, you may not like what they do. The other, your next door neighbor may love what they do. And, we don't want to get into the point, well, the township recommended this group. It just would look bad.
Do you know if there's been any discussion from another group about looking into doing more township composting?
Another group?
Well, is it just the EAZ who sometimes brings up, or whether or not the Public Works says?
I mean, like, let me say that I think EAC is the one that brings it up the most often. I suspect if I go back, I know there was some conversation when we were talking with with Shade Tree Group about some composting,
Right.
but it was more not necessarily about people doing composting, but the benefit of composting and putting that with the trees,
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it fits under EAC, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's,
Wonder if that window is open, that we should bring it up again. Well, let's hear what happens on the 13th.
No, but I have also thought, I know anecdotally that a lot of people use private companies
Yeah.
for their own.
I do
composting.
personally.
I don't, because I have a lot of land, but
Right.
that is a good thing to understand. I would love for the EAC to maybe help people understand how they could do that
Yes.
using existing services. But I also understand it's a difficult line, because it's hard to recommend someone try this service without recommending a service, but we don't want to necessarily recommend services.
Well,
So
I think maybe Master Gardeners does address the issue of composting.
we do, but we have a very similar policy in place at the township. So we will, for example, and I think this is where herbicide comes in. We will talk about how you can use herbicide for conservation on large properties and homes, but we will not recommend an individual herbicide.
Sure.
And it's for a lot of the same reasons.
Right.
I think that's a little looser. And again, we will talk about, we do have a handout, for example, on here are all of the businesses, and maybe this is a way to look at it. We have a handout I put together actually last year that was on, in our county, here are all of the nurseries we know of that provide or regularly sell true native species.
Okay, right.
And we pass that out at just the individual county level, not
Uh-huh.
something more broadly, but because it was inclusive of every and any business we could find at the nursery level, like retail store that did provide these native plants, it
Right.
was considered allowable under that policy because that's really more about making it available. So maybe that's something we could look into. We could look at, say, hey, let's find all of the services that will
Right.
come to your residential home and provide you with a private composting service. We're not going to recommend one or the other, but we'll give you a list of everyone that we can find that will service the area. That might be something the township would find agreeable.
Yeah, we would probably consider that. I think, again, the point though is if you're gonna do that, then who's staying on top of that? That, you know, this business is open this year, but they're not open next year, but the new business is open next year. You know, it's like,
I would,
it's,
there's a point in time.
yeah.
At this moment in time.
Yeah,
it's
I'm just saying though, but
annual.
it's like if it's gonna be something we put on the website, we try to make sure what we keep on the website's
Mhm.
reasonably current. I say that and then I look at things on our website and I go, we're way out of date here.
That-
But, you know, but
every
that's the.
organization and every
Yeah,
website.
but that's
so,
the goal.
Yeah, understood. All right, but I
Very
think
good.
lots of, if anything, too many ideas, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'll take them as an action item. I will just communicate back to Garrett Williamson, and then coming out of that sustainability conference, I'll reach out and see if we can get some meetings organized. Just kind of general. We'll be careful about, you know, the quorum
Yes.
situation, but we definitely want to get weigh in from the business association, from the township, from Mary Wells, you know, from Garrett Williamson, what these topics might be that we can kind of start coalescing around. Granted, it's not going to happen until September, but you guys know
Good
how
to
summer
start.
tends to go. I would love if we could align on, let's say, maybe a high level agenda, you know, in the April, May timeframe, even if we don't develop out the content until a little bit later on. So we have something to advertise.
Okay.
Well, and I will tell you why, one of the reasons that's important, if you're gonna line up speakers,
Yeah.
you know, you need to do that ahead of time.
Okay, great. So we can move on then to item 8.2, discussion and possible action on 2025 events to repeat in 2026. And so this topic is really meant to, you know, and Janet, I know you have several items as well, and I have a few just for us to look over the next 3 to 4 months and say, this is what we did last year. We found this to be valuable. We want to make sure that we're continuing either to host or co-host or support this event moving forward. Obviously, the first item, we are attending the Delaware County Sustainability Conference. At least I
Yeah.
know I am, I believe. Are you joining us as well?
Yep.
We are all going to be there. We have to be
Good.
careful about how we talk to each other, but I'll see you from across the room.
You can talk to each other, you just can't plan anything going.
I'm just joking. That will be great. And then I'm sure in the April meeting, we can all come back and maybe share what we thought was
Right,
a
yeah.
great
Be
takeaway.
attending different
Mhm.
one of
Yeah.
the independent workshops.
We should maybe
Right. make
try
sure
to
we don't
divide and
forget.
conquer so we get to
Right.
all of those. That's a great idea. Also, and I'll just mention one or two and then I'll pass it off to you guys. Well, we are not, there is I just want to give a plug for Parks and Rec because there is an upcoming CRC stream cleanup on March 21st.
Yes.
We are not actively co-hosting one, but I did sign up to volunteer at the Drexel Lodge location.
Too.
Excellent. I was planning to potentially bring a table and do some tabling as well, and maybe some materials. And maybe that's something where in the future, you know, into the fall, if they do one of these, we can look at it as more of an active co-host for the event. And then leading into Arbor Day. And Janet, I think do you have any items related to Birdtown or?
I think that tree planting that's going to go on at the square.
The tavern?
The tavern, right, is part that what's Historical Society is going to be part of. And Kathy and I are Kathy Cavalier, and I, trying to figure out the best day for having a plant swap, plant giveaway. It will be in May, and I think it's May the 9th, which is not the same day as Arbor Day.
That is great. I would definitely be attending, and I have I have actually, if anything, too many seats. And at the moment I have, if they survive, I will have about 100 moss phlox sedulata that I propagated from one of my gardens. I would be happy to bring.
Oh, great.
I I've overwintered them though in a winter sowing container, so it's fingers crossed to
Oh,
see how
hope
they
comes
do.
out.
Yes, my dogs got into one of those boxes, but I think that would be great. And I know you guys have done the native plant swap in the past.
Yes, we have, right, yeah. Last year, we also did a container.
Mhm.
And I just sat in on a webinar 2 days ago, and it was on mini meadows.
Ooh,
And it was about how to create a mini meadow. And it also had to do with seeds and sowing the seeds. And he says he uses 1 to 10,
Mhm.
10 times sand and one part seeds. And what I took away from there that was the most helpful, I think, was that he said, any size of native plant garden that you build is a mini meadow. So
Mhm.
even if it's only a container, you're making a mini meadow. And I think that's I'm going to use that term because people get overwhelmed when they think about
Yes.
making a meadow. How can I do that? But even just the smallest.
That's true. And I think, everyone says that it's about the quality of the ecological
Yes,
space
right. Yeah.
more so than the quantity. Because I can tell you, I got very overwhelmed in my property after I started my native plant restoration. I had to dial that back after the first 2 years quite a bit.
Right. Okay, so you're
Mhm.
talking about activities. I mean, we will be repeating Bird Day Walk on World Migratory Bird Day, which is May the 9th. And that is at Garrett Williamson. They've kind of partnered with us for a number of years now, and as well as CRC, who advertises the event. And Mike McGraw, outstanding birder, is the one who will be leading us.
Right. I did also see that there was a first, getting into sort of end of May, June, there was a first formal date announced for the farmer's market, which I think would be wonderful to have a tabling event at throughout the summer, as our schedule allows, the one that's going to now be hosted at Garrett Williamson.
Right.
Anything else top of mind? I know there's generally a lot of summer programming events we've helped co-host in the past with the library.
Oh, I've worked with the children. And I will mention that just this past, the 25th of February, I think it was, I did a lesson with the scout group, the Cub Scouts. There were 20 of them. They were looking for native animals, Pennsylvania native animals. So obviously I've focused on birds, which are really the wild animals that we live closest to. And so we identified some birds. I used a bit of Merlin for the song of the cardinal. And then we put together pine cone feeders, which they built. Fortunately, we had like 10 adults as well to help with that process because it was a bit messy, but I think everyone enjoyed that process. And I just got a call from Wade yesterday about doing the seed planting that is sponsored by the library, the kids that come for that. So I'll be doing that as well.
If there's my July and August are very open, so I'm happy to help jump in for any
Very
summer
good.
programming.
Thank you.
I think that's as far out as we necessarily need to look today. All right, so then moving on to item 8.3, discussion and possible action on e-newsletter content. I will be honest, if anything, I have too many topics. And I thought we could, first of all, we definitely need to talk about March, but I've also started putting down some topics for April and even May. I also know April and May are going to be very busy months. So I thought if we have the opportunity tonight to maybe talk about some of these now, we could get them all prepped and ready. Because I know my April and May it'll get a little bit busy.
So we submitted something for March. I mean, I think that had to go in by the 3rd, if I'm correct. I looked at that chart. The things for the newsletter.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I misspoke there.
Right. And I wanted to check whether or not you had done the one for the monarch butterfly.
They'll be the ones I will submit after we agree on the next topics.
Okay,
All
right.
So that's one, I actually have that one drafted already. So supporting
Okay,
monarchs,
good.
I think we should definitely submit.
Especially since
Mhm.
we are the, the Drexel Lodge Park uh, pollinator garden up there
Mhm.
is going to be restored as a monarch butterfly, mostly, garden with a lot of milkweed,
Mhm.
but also then with fall pollinating plant goldenrod and then asters.
Mhm.
So we want to support the monarchs on their way back to Mexico. So that we've talked with Steve Mastardi, who is willing to help us in and has offered a lot of advice when it comes to how we will install it, because it'll be fabric down first, soil then, and so we'll put the wood, what do you want to call it, border. So it'll be a raised garden there, and we hopefully that will be a way of avoiding the weeds that we have a huge problem with.
Mhm.
And Steve will provide plugs for some of it, as well as seeding. And so then if we're making it a monarch butterfly way station, I will be sure to have signage that we can put there. And then also, we can have it
What's the date again?
certified as a bird-friendly
All
habitat.
right.
Steve, we'll get one of these. So township parks, can get these for no cost, and schools and churches also. So I hope that we can put these in our parks as well.
All right. So, great. Another topic I had was about safe pruning practices given bird migrations. I would recommend we include that in the next newsletter as
Safe
well.
printing practice?
Pruning.
Oh, pruning.
Safe pruning practices, right? So keeping in mind, like when you're pruning shrubs and branches, so as not to
Yes,
disturb
right.
birds.
Yes, that was a good one.
Mhm.
Now, I just sent you one today that came from the PRC. And that was that they will do an analysis for you of the runoff of your water.
Mhm.
If you are living in the Chester Crum Ridley Creek beds or runoff to there. So it's kind of timely. I just sent it to you
Mhm.
today.
I got that one. I can definitely write one of those up.
Okay.
Who does that report?
This is PRC, which is the Pennsylvania Resource Council, I think it is.
Mhm.
Came from Carol Butler, who is on that. Thought it was worth, since it's free,
Mhm.
something that residents might want to take advantage of.
Definitely. Let's see, also lights out. We mentioned this as well. We
Yes.
should definitely do one for lights out.
Yes.
So, let's see.
That sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
It's a lot, but I had more thoughts. I also, this might be a good time of year to put something out about ways to manage ticks in your yard that are not completely dependent on chemicals. So, sort of smart ways that you can manage ticks with more natural means. That might be, usually by April, a lot of those are things you need to start thinking about doing in
Right.
this time frame. And then it might be too early. We'd also talked about potentially doing one on the Merlin app itself in the newsletter. I don't know if we want to wait on that until maybe the May timeframe, just to spread things out a little bit.
So there is the workshop that's going to happen
Mhm.
at Garrett Williamson
Mhm.
with eBird and Merlin by one of the gentlemen who is part of the Pennsylvania Bird Atlas. And I think that's April the 4th.
Okay.
And that was, so, Steve, I know that Kendra Thompson from Garrett Williamson was hoping that these could be placed somewhere on the township, either the newsletter or the calendar about these events that are free and taking place at Garrett Williamson. There were two of them. One is happening on the 14th, and that's about bluebirds from the Bluebird Society. I think Sandra said she had sent it off to Mara, but I'm not sure I saw anything in response to that.
What was the date on that one again?
March the 14th,
You know when she sent it?
well, sometime last week.
Okay. Was she wanting it in a newsletter or?
Well, I just thought if there's some way the township could send that out, either the Facebook page, our Facebook page.
Yeah.
I don't know how active that one is.
I mean, we're always careful because there's this fine line between supporting what a group is doing and
Mhm.
Yes,
where do we draw that line,
yes,
you know? And I get it that it probably, that's not a bad thing. Like at this one, I probably would say yes to.
okay, right.
We usually have it try to be tied to something, like if it's tied to this group sponsoring it with
Yes.
somebody, or this group, you know, the Parks and Rec group sponsoring it with somebody,
Yes,
that always is a no-brainer.
okay,
But when we start having organizations within the town doing things, like, what are we gonna push and what are we not gonna push, just because, like, where do you draw the line?
right.
And so it's always careful. So it may be that if she may have even asked me, and depending on how she asked me, I may have responded a certain way.
Okay,
So, but my initial response would be, I think this one would be okay.
all right,
But we just have to be careful.
sure. Both of these have the Birdtown logo on them, so.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, I'll take a look.
Okay, good, thank you.
And when was the second one?
April the 4th, I think it is.
Okay.
All right, I think that's a good number of topics.
Yes,
Yeah, I think any more than that, they're not going to take.
no,
that
no,
more.
I think three, I think is kind of what we should be up, like our maximum for one newsletter.
I had looked back at the past newsletters and there were often many more than that.
Well, but they come
Yeah.
from different groups.
Ah,
The
okay.
EAC
Mhm.
was,
All right, so just to recap for the next newsletter, we have Monarchs,
yes,
the CRC runoff program,
yes,
Bird Lights Out,
yes,
potentially tick management. And then, that could also wait.
right.
Maybe we'll wait for the next one.
Okay,
And then I think since the timing of the workshop that we'll want to publicize the workshop, obviously.
Right.
That's being scheduled around Merlin and birds. Maybe we'll wait for the next newsletter and do like a feature on the Merlin app.
okay.
What do you think about that?
I think that's good.
Okay.
Just for people to know that Merlin is
Yeah.
out there and
Mhm.
free, and that all you have to do is turn it on and it'll tell you what bird you're hearing chirping. It's a
That's
really
kind of
way.
brings up like pictures.
Yes,
and
right,
recordings.
absolutely.
Yeah, my daughter loves that. She loves, I mean, she's not always into nature, but she loves taking the app and going in the backyard and actually catching the recordings
sure.
and playing them back for me.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
really fun. All right, we can then move on to item 8.4, and this is something there've been some communication around. So discussion and possible action on being a co-sponsor for an event that would be centered on this new film that's come out through Doug Tallamy, which is called The Extraordinary Caterpillar. And specifically about whether, for us to discuss as the EAC, should we spend $180 to purchase a screening license for this? That screening license, if it's in the context of a school or library, it's not just a one-time license, it's one that could be used actually
It's
potentially up
3
to 3
years,
years.
right. Now, I did reach out to
Mhm.
Arlene Russo at the library. She sent it on to, it's the person who is doing the workshops. And she said that they have several events planned
Mhm.
where they're doing videos. I think so she declined.
Yeah,
But I then sent her back
Mhm.
another one that said, this could be used up to 3 years,
Mhm.
which is a great advantage because otherwise you can only use it once. And it's only $150 for the if it's the library. I didn't hear back from her from them, but
That's okay. Actually, Garrett Williamson is very interested in
yes, I
doing
know
this
that.
with us.
Right,
Which I think is definitely worth considering. It could be not just one, right, but multiple events that the EAC and Garrett Williamson could co-host over time,
Okay.
targeted at families.
all right,
Because they also have a large space potentially that could
Right,
be
yes.
used for the screening. And it could maybe be co-placed with some other events that might normally be happening at the organization. Like the
so they
fam-
would qualify as a school, is that how they would
Yeah.
get around that?
Well, and I will have to confirm with Homegrown National Park, which is what is
Right,
promoting and kind of
Yes.
managing licenses for this. I mean, I think it's a great.
did you watch it?
I haven't watched the whole thing,
I-
but I
I
watched part of
watched
it,
it.
and it's not just like an educational film. It's like a feature film. It's 60 minutes, and it's very much like Planet Earth, but I think it's really exciting, and I think it's definitely like in line with the EAC's vision also of getting more
Right.
community engagement and interest. It would be targeted more at families and more at children, but it is such a cool film, and it's something that could potentially be shown many times. We
Right,
could
yes.
do it as like a large event, you know,
Right.
that I think would be a nice hosting. It's not a lot of money, and it's money that would be going to, you know, an organization that
Mhm.
is anyway, like at the forefront of aligning with the values that we're looking at.
Right, yeah.
You know, I know that we have a limited budget, but I do think this would be a worthwhile use of money, particularly if we can host several events with Garrett Williamson that would be open to the entire township community.
Maybe we could share that cost with them?
Potentially, yes.
Right,
Yeah, I can
okay.
talk to them about that as well. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but I think the first question is, you know, do we as the EAC, you know, and I'm open to everyone's opinion, do you think this would be a worthwhile endeavor to pursue? It is a very new thing. They haven't done this type of thing before, at least, you know, because it stems from Doug Tallamy's efforts. This is kind of like a new and exciting thing that a lot of people are talking
Yes,
about.
the Caterpillar Lab, I think, is what it
Yeah.
comes out of. And it's a way to fall in love with caterpillars, really. When you look at some of them, they look like shaggy
Mhm.
little, you know, those dogs that you can't see their face on the dog shows?
Mhm.
But these little
Yeah.
crawly things.
And the colors are so vibrant. It is really
Right, yeah.
interesting.
When you see them as individuals.
It was about 6,000.
6,000.
I have to look, but I want to go back and,
A lot of that money went to shade tree and trees.
yeah, so I need to
It's already
see,
been spent.
I need to see
Okay.
how much is like allocated for that, but if you
Mhm.
want to do that, I'll work towards trying to get the exact dollar
Mhm.
amount that you have.
I think it would be good to know that in general. I mean, I know we aren't necessarily planning any large expenditures through the end of the year at this point.
Okay.
And I can also certainly talk to Garrett Williamson about cost sharing. I mean, it's not a
Good.
huge cost, but I do think I think it'd be a fun event.
Yes. me
Yeah.
too.
I would agree. Are there any additional costs with hosting said event?
I'd have to talk with them about
I
that,
don't
but
think
not
so.
necessarily.
No.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, other than maybe some snacks, you know, that could be.
Oh, those were all, you know, having been a teacher for 30 years, buying things.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm happy to
Part
pick
of my
up some cupcakes
peeing.
and muffins and cookies. I don't
Absolutely.
think so, you know, and you know, I've only had an initial discussion with them about it. They just generally, they did watch it because there was a limited time period where you could, and I have this myself. You
Yes.
could download it as an individual without a licensing
I
fee. That
did it.
time period has expired. But
Yeah.
I do think it would be a really fun community event. And again, something that if it was successful, could be done multiple times as a
For
partnership
sure.
over the next 3 years.
Right,
I mean, it's a very, very cute movie.
right.
Well, and I will say that Parks and Rec
Mhm.
is looking, I mean, we had talked last year with them about possibly purchasing the ability to show films in the park.
Oh, really?
And so, I mean, based on what you're saying, it sounds like it would be like maybe going together and doing that as one of the films, if it's a family oriented, fun kind of movie that you would have them in
Yeah.
a park, it might be a good opportunity. Because we had talked about doing some film,
Mhm.
like showing some films in the
Yeah.
park, and they would do that. So it is a possibility to do that.
So I will
Okay, good.
also talk to the distributor about what, you know, an institutional license could involve and just make sure we fully understand, like, is it a single location? I'm going to imagine there'll be some flexibility. We are like a very much a target audience for this, and it's a non-commercial enterprise.
Right.
So I will go ahead and confirm
Okay, good.
that with them as well. And there's
Good.
no timeline on this either. It's something that doesn't have to be executed.
Yes,
So maybe
right.
what we'll do is, maybe we'll have some more conversations and bring this back at the next meeting and have a final decision. Does that seem reasonable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
And-
it's not yet Caterpillar season.
No, I mean, although they, Garrett Williams could certainly host this as an indoor event, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
right.
think a little bit more in the May timeframe, or even over the summer. Again,
Mhm.
depending on how much interest there was, but I'll get a few
Right.
more details around that.
Love it.
I think it's really, I mean, anyone who's enjoyed Planet Earth would enjoy this movie. It is not just for children. But it is very much, I think, something that children would enjoy.
Yes, right.
My
You
daughter,
want to get over that, ooh, icky.
They're not icky,
This
they're
will get you
beautiful.
over that.
no, my 9-year-old though has not been willing to sit down and watch it with me yet, but I think that's because she's 9 and she's too cool for her mom. And it's not about that, because every time she sees a fuzzy brown caterpillar outside, she is all over me to show me. All right, so we will table that for the next meeting and I'll get some more information. The next topic, I actually think I might just, I don't know if I want to table this one. for the
Let's
future.
table that one.
Yeah, we'll table that one. And then sort of the last discussion topic I have here, so item 8.6, I wanted to raise this, discussion and possible action on adopting what they call the Mosquito Bucket Challenge, in the April-May timeframe.
Yes.
So what this is, it's not a monetary thing. It is really, it's something that is promoted by Homegrown National Park, but all it really is, and I have some cool flyers here that I can share with you guys. They'd probably be too hard to see online. The concept is, which is something the EAC has already done a lot of work. Last year, I know there was a mosquito dunk giveaway.
Yes.
There was a lot of, it would just be kind of taking the work that already been done, but putting a fun spin on it for marketing. So the Mosquito Bucket Challenge, it's really just the idea that one of the best ways to manage mosquitoes is you take a, 5 to 7 gallon plastic container, ideally a dark one. You fill it with water and you fill it with a mosquito dunk, which has this specialized bacteria that will only target mosquito larvae to kill them. So rather than doing something like mosquito fogging, which I think is not as common around here, but still something
It
that
still happens.
it
yes.
still happens. That is broadly spraying chemicals all over your property. Instead,
Yes.
you're creating an ideal habitat where the mosquito wants to come and lay their larvae. And then you're killing them through a biological mechanism that has no impact on other species. And because it's contained in a bucket, it also has no impact on the larger ecology of your yard and property. And that's not unique to this campaign. This is more of, there's a fun social media campaign called the Mosquito Bucket Challenge, where you take a bucket and you get your kids or your family to decorate it with like
Okay.
colorful paint pens.
And
And then
they
you
put
kind of,
straw in it. and
exactly, you put the
water.
dunk in it, you put the water in it, and then you put it out somewhere in your property. But it's more, it is like a social media hashtag. It could be something, maybe we could talk a supervisor into doing a social media post. I did order personally some large stickers so we could have, a bucket and put it as like an educational display in the library or somewhere in the township building. So I just thought this might be like a fun way we could look at adopting this like as the EAC and try to make it a little bit of a digital campaign. So it just kind of takes it one step beyond mosquito dunks to kind of make them fun.
I like the
Yeah.
idea, but I also understand the importance that mosquitoes play
Mhm.
in terms of food
This is true.
for bats.
Mhm.
And so, we don't want to eliminate mosquitoes,
Mhm.
but they don't range very far. So if we
Mhm.
did these close to our porches,
Mhm.
whatever,
Yes, of course. They're not meant for like large scale habitats. This is
No.
more like, instead of doing something like mosquito fogging,
Yes, right.
this is an alternative, just like there are a lot of tick practices you can do with, treated cotton tubes. So as opposed to, I know a lot of, in my community, I see a lot of spraying for ticks, and
right.
we don't, I wouldn't recommend broadly
No,
spraying
it's-
anything
It's generic. It's
chemical
not-
on your property.
Yeah.
But I do, also stand as like a parent and a dog owner that nothing is easy, right? Everything that's food for birds is also potentially something that is problematic for
Yes,
families
can
and
be, right.
individuals. So it's all about the context.
Right. All right.
All right. And then item 8.7, just if anyone else has a specific update they want to give towards the 2026 EAC goals, Slash maybe we should actually revisit the conversation of, I know we've had some more general conversations around these goals, but maybe going into the next meeting, we should look at formalizing them.
Okay.
Chris, is there anything you want to share on your end?
Steve, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do we have access to the land development plans that like planning commission is reviewing?
Yes, you would have access to them. Right now, I don't think there's anything that's in for land development
Okay.
right
But
now.
we would have access.
You
to
would
it.
have access to them.
Okay.
Probably when they were submitted, right? Like
Yeah,
conditional
right.
approval
We
or
have one
posted
thing coming
publicly.
in for conditional use.
Yeah,
I don't know that that would come before you, but if, as the land development plan comes in, that would come
Mhm.
before you.
Okay.
And we've done a lot of work digging down into them, especially looking at sustainable practices,
Yes, I did. I went back,
Plantings and
looked at some of the old
lighting,
Kate, the ones that you shot over to.
riparian buffers, and
Um,
things like that.
Yeah,
awesome.
but nothing really to add
Yeah.
or
All
update
right,
on.
that's not a problem. What do you guys think about? I know last time, in the last meeting, we talked generally about these 2026 goals and how like this is a rebuilding year, this is a reorganization year. Do you think that we have the overarching goals that we've aligned on? Do we want to come back in our next meeting and make them more specific metrics, or do we want to keep them general in this year since we are now a group of 3 and then just look at it as a baseline to build on in the future?
Well, I'll say, let's keep it general, but
Mhm.
also let's discuss next time
Mhm.
what we've learned from the Sustainability Conference that's going to happen on
Mhm.
the 13th.
Great, I think that sounds great. And I know just keeping track of time, so 9, we don't have any topics for new business. Mhm.
If I could for
Yeah,
just a minute,
please.
while we were sitting here, I looked up your budget. It's $8,700.
Oh, wow, that's more than I thought.
And-
Is that what's left?
But I do want to kind of remind you that some of that money
Mhm.
was, some of that money was part of the money that
Yeah.
they're going to do for the tree planting. So I got to find out how much that is.
Okay.
And it also has to cover the sustainability conference. And
Oh,
so,
right.
so just be kind of aware of that. And so, I just want to make, before I just say, oh, yeah, the $8,700 go spend.
Nope,
I just want
understood.
to, I got to
Yeah.
go back and look at the exact breakdown of what that is.
Okay.
That would be great. We can discuss the next meeting. I also imagine we'll want to use some significant portion of what's left for some form of tree planting in the fall. I know we don't have one discussed or aligned on, but it's fall, so we are planting trees somewhere in the town.
That'll be being done through the Parks and Rec route.
Mhm.
I just have to see how much of the like the line item does EAC, but it also does the tree
Yeah.
planting. So I just have to pull out how much is tree planting and how much is EAC.
And hopefully between now and the next meeting, I can also get a better idea of, how much have we spent on the conference in the past? I know
Yeah,
sometimes
right.
there's partners promotions. I think in the past, it's also been a lunch, but this time we're looking at more of a morning time slot. So, potentially that might reduce costs
I think it
associated with
was
that.
morning.
I think
What's
it's
morning?
always been morning.
Okay.
And we've, fortunately, I think last year and even the year before, a good portion of that was like provided by the host.
Mhm.
Right.
They kind of did that. They didn't do all of it, but they did a good portion of it. So they kind of gave it to us at low cost kind of thing. They helped kind of offset it.
No, but I think it'd be good to talk about the budget in general at the next meeting and, for what budget is available, how we want to prioritize that.
Yes. right.
Yeah, and maybe we can look at, for example, like just knowing in advance, even going into 2027, how much is going to be set aside for trees, so we can even think, well in advance.
Don't we have to spend it all before the end of does it roll over?
Nothing
No,
rolls
no.
over with the
Does
budget.
not roll over.
So I think once we know how much money that actually is, because 8,700 is a lot, but minus trees, minus other things, then suddenly it's potentially not a lot, but
Yes, right.
I don't.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
like last year, I think, probably about at least a third of it was trees,
Mhm.
just to give you an idea. I have to go back and look exactly, but like I said, I'll have to go back, dig through some of my budget notes to figure out exactly what that is.
We'll have to make sure for whatever's left over that we have solid plans for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not planning to give the money back, Steve.
Well, but, I mean, but here's the thing,
Yeah.
what I would say is that, it's, you know, we had certain things that was asked for, and I just have to go back and see
Mhm.
what those things were. There were certain, I think part of what we do for a couple of the different organizations that we support with it, you know, we've done that. Is there a fee with Birdtown? I forget, is,
No, there is
Not,
not,
so that
although I've
wasn't-
asked that the township do make a donation
okay,
to Birdtown.
okay.
We could bring that up. if
We could absolutely bring that up.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, I knew there was some, I think there was some dollars that are there. I mean, it's amazing how fast the money goes when you start looking at it. 8,000 sounds like a lot, but by the time you.
Not when you're planting trees.
Not when you're
I
planting
can tell you.
trees and not when
man,
you're,
That's less than I spent my first year planting trees on my
Yeah.
property.
yeah, and it also doesn't take long when you're looking at uh, just the conference and those kind of things, that all of a sudden,
Oh, yes, we can serve PA. That's
Yeah.
something the membership
yeah,
that we paid, was it $180?
yeah, I forget what that was, but like, well, I'll go back through and pull what was in that
Okay.
account and just give you an idea of what we spent.
That's good, because then we can also make a determination, you know, on events that we're gonna see
Right.
into the summer and fall timeframe, where do we want to allocate those dollars? Because I could see a lot, I mean, there's unlimited opportunities, you know, maybe we wanna, we have a few thousand, maybe we want to put it back into some form of planting in the fall.
Mm. Some of it has to be saved for the Halloween candy at the firehouse.
Yeah.
Where we table.
Is there like a historical document that covers what we have historically spent as the EAC over past years?
I would hope so, but I don't know that
I can pull what was
Okay.
coming out of the account to. let
That
you
would be
know.
great, because I don't want to inadvertently spend money that we need to allocate for a community event, definitely. But then it also might be an opportunity to do something else, or talk to Parks and Recs about, or trees, what else they might want to do in the
Right,
fall. I mean, I think they have that covered for Arbor Day, but, you know, fall is the best time, and God forbid we have an excess of money, we could also look at something resident facing.
Well, I know the tree planting
Mhm.
that Sheila did for 2 years in a row along particular streets. And those are rather tall trees.
Those get very
I
expensive
think
very
it
quickly.
was, but a really good project.
Mhm.
And if we can duplicate it,
That's why I need to find out how much
Yeah.
was set aside for that.
right?
And I forget, so I don't want to, I have a
Don't
number
feel-
that's
yes.
in my head, but I'm like not really sure, so I'm not willing to just blurt it out until I go back and look.
All right, fair enough.
Good.
All
Good.
right, let's see. Items for next agenda, I think I won't remember them all at this moment, but I know that Chris has a handle on
I
it.
have sustainability conference
Perfect.
review. I
Yeah.
have better understanding of the
Mhm.
2026 goals. I have a budget kind of review, kind of the
Good.
overall Steve's
Mhm.
gonna get us where we're currently at, and we can kind of discuss where we're going to be allocating that
Right, and
money
then
to.
The
We'll-
newsletter.
Newsletter
topics.
topics, yes, for the next newsletter, and we'll revisit the Caterpillar video as well,
Okay. good.
that opportunity. Right, that sounds great. Okay, so item 11, public comment. There are no members of the public comment, so move on to item 12, an adjournment, and I'll just go ahead and say that unless there's any, does anyone have any additional topics they want to discuss? I believe we are at time.
You get to use your.
Oh, I'll just.
You're-
all right, I'll just.
You're good. So I would say that, you know, just so you know, if you went to
Yeah.
6:45, you'd probably be okay.
Because Parks and Rec comes in
Parks
for
and Rec
7.
starts at 7.
Mhm.
I just need to allow that 15 minutes because we have to put up new name tags. and
Understood.
all of that good stuff, get the room set. I'm not really quite sure why that table's there, but we got to do those things.
All right, well,
Okay.
then I will just say that we had adjourned for the evening.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
So I have at 7 o'clock, the spring gathering for the Birdtown, and I have to make a presentation on our education committee, so I'm out of here fast.
No problem.
It's by saying that.